On a quiet morning in a small American town, a young man named Daniel sat at the edge of his bed staring at the floor. His alarm clock had gone off 2 hours ago, but he had hit snooze again and again. Bills were piled on the table. His job felt like a cage. His dreams, the ones he carried since boyhood, had begun to feel like a distant joke. That morning, Daniel whispered to himself, "Why does my life always feel stuck?" What Daniel did not yet know is that his life wasn't stuck by chance. It was stuck because of his standards. You see, life does not give you what you wish for, it gives you what you tolerate. And Daniel had been tolerating far too much. Think about your own life for a moment. Do you notice the same frustrations repeating? The same ceilings you can't seem to break through? The same outcomes showing up year after year? That is not fate. That is not bad luck. That is the reflection of your standards. Standards are the invisible lines we draw in the sand. They are the silent rules we live by, often without even realizing it. They decide how early we rise, how much effort we give, how we speak to others, and even what kind of people we allow into our lives. When you raise your standards, you raise the quality of your life. When you lower them, you invite struggle, mediocrity, and frustration. Let me tell you something Napoleon Hill once observed in the men and women he studied. Those who achieved greatness were not simply lucky or unusually gifted. They had drawn a line in the sand. They said, "This is who I am, and this is what I will accept." Nothing less. Daniel, however, had drawn no line. His life was not controlled by ambition, but by convenience. He slept late. He excused poor habits. He surrounded himself with people who expected little and demanded even less. His floor, the lowest standard he would accept, was so low that he tripped over it daily. Now, imagine another man in the same town. His name was Michael. At dawn, Michael was already awake. His bed was made, his shirt pressed, his shoes polished. Before stepping out of his front door, he had written down 3 things he would conquer that day. And no one ordered him to do this. He did not do it for applause. He did it because it was his standard. His line in the sand. Now pause and ask yourself, who walks into the world with more strength? The man who drifts out of bed late, or the man who begins his day with purpose? The difference between Daniel and Michael is not destiny. It is standard. Hill himself wrote that success is not the product of wishes but of definite decisions. A standard is exactly that, a decision you make about the minimum you will accept from yourself. It is not about reaching for the stars someday. It is about refusing to crawl in the dirt today. Most people believe they are kept from success because they lack motivation. That is a dangerous lie. If you wait for motivation, you will always be at the mercy of your emotions. Standards, however, do not depend on feelings. They are lived out whether you feel inspired or not. A soldier does not polish his boots only when he feels like it. He polishes them because it is the standard. A carpenter does not sharpen his tools only when he is excited. He sharpens them because he knows dull blades build crooked houses. Excellence is not an act of ambition, it is an act of standard. Think of your own life. What have you been tolerating that must no longer be allowed? Which habits, excuses, or influences have been dragging you down? What would happen if you declared, "No more excuses. This is my new standard"? When Daniel finally asked himself that question, something changed. He realized that the frustration he carried was not punishment, it was feedback. Life was simply mirroring what he tolerated. He tolerated laziness, so laziness filled his days. He tolerated debt, so debt kept knocking at his door. He tolerated weak friendships, so weak men filled his circle. But one morning, Daniel made a different choice. He rose with the sun, made his bed, and told himself, Today I live by a new code. It was not a grand transformation at once. It began with the smallest things, keeping his word, showing up on time, honoring his commitments, cleaning his space. And here is the powerful truth. The smallest standards carry the biggest weight. If you cannot command your morning, you cannot command your life. If you cannot keep a promise to yourself, how will you keep one to others? Napoleon Hill once wrote, "You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your habits." I will take this a step further. You fall to the level of your standards. Your rituals define your results. So let me ask you, if I followed you for a week, what would your actions say about you? Would they say you are a man or woman of discipline? Or would they say you tolerate weakness, delay, and excuses? Daniel's turning point did not come from wishing for more. It came from refusing to accept less. He did not raise his ceiling, he raised his floor. He decided that even on his worst day, he would live with integrity, discipline, and purpose. That is how ordinary men become extraordinary. They stop waiting for life to hand them opportunities. They set standards so high that even their lowest days outmatch another's best. The question now is not whether you want success. The question is, what is your standard? Do you tolerate lateness, or do you demand punctuality from yourself? Do you tolerate clutter, or do you insist on order? Do you tolerate excuses, or do you insist on action? Draw the line. Decide who you are. And watch how the world shifts to match it. Because in the end, life does not give you what you dream. It gives you what you demand of yourself. And the man, or woman, who chooses to live by standard becomes unstoppable. Part 2. The blacksmith's fire. On the edge of town stood an old blacksmith's shop. The walls were darkened with soot, the air smelled of iron and ash, and sparks often danced like fireflies each time the hammer struck steel. The blacksmith, Mr. Callahan, was a man the younger townsfolk often overlooked. He had gray hair, a bent back, and hands so worn that they looked carved from stone. But those who watched closely noticed something remarkable. Each morning before dawn, Callahan lit his fire. Each morning, without fail, he prepared his tools, sharpened his blades, and began his work long before the town had even stirred awake. Why? Because the blade was worth it. He knew that the outcome was greater than the obstacle. Each strike of his hammer was not comfort. It was discomfort, sweat, effort, and repetition. Yet out of that effort came swords so fine they were prized by soldiers and craftsmen across the land. The blacksmith never asked, "Do I feel like working today?" He had already decided long ago. His standard was set. And because his decision was fixed, his work was constant. Now let me ask you something. What discomfort have you been avoiding? What dream have you delayed because it would demand more from you than you felt ready to give? You know what it is. Every person reading these words knows the one thing. That one pursuit that keeps whispering at you. The one you keep pushing aside, saying, "One day I'll start." But here's the truth. One day is a lie that robs you of today. Imagine if you decided right now, this moment, that no matter what, you do not break. You do not bow. You do not delay. That decision, that standard, would become your strength. It would become your vault, your fireproof chamber where you store your grit, your integrity, and your greatness. The blacksmith does not stop when the fire grows hot. He leans into it. Why? Because he knows the flame does not destroy him, it shapes him. And so it is with your life. Comfort will whisper, "Rest. You're safe. You've done enough." But comfort lies. It tells you that you are secure while your standards quietly weaken. It tells you that you are fine when in truth you are slipping. Character, on the other hand, echoes through time. Comfort fades the moment the pillow grows cold. But character outlasts you. Long after your name is forgotten by strangers, the fruit of your standards will remain in the lives you touched, the work you finished, and the legacy you carved with blistered hands and unwavering focus. So I ask you again, are you building comfort or character? Because you cannot have both. Standards do not limit your life. They lift it. They separate the ordinary from the exceptional. They give you a reason to rise when the world tells you to lay down. Michael, the man we spoke of in part 1, the one who rose at dawn and wrote down 3 things he would conquer, understood this lesson. At first, his friends mocked him. They laughed when he passed on late-night distractions. They questioned why he polished his shoes, why he lived with such order when no one else seemed to care. But over time, something happened. His presence began to speak louder than his words. Without raising his voice, Michael's standard began to lift the entire room. One day, his boss walked into the office and said, "There's something different about you. I don't have to check on you anymore. You're always ready, always dependable." That single observation opened a door to new opportunities. Promotions came, responsibilities expanded, and soon Michael's influence spread beyond his small circle. Why? Because his standard was public, not private. It is easy to whisper values in the dark. It is easy to keep standards written in a journal, locked away in secret. But hidden standards do not protect you. They cannot shield you when chaos comes. They cannot inspire others to rise with you. The only standards that matter are the ones you live, openly, visibly, consistently. Think of a teacher walking into a classroom. His shoes are polished, his shirt crisp, his shoulders straight. The students quiet down not because he barks commands, but because his very presence commands respect. His consistency speaks louder than any speech he could give. That is what your standard must do. It must walk ahead of you. It must announce you before you even speak. It must remain in the room long after you have left. But here is where most men and women fail. They wait for the moment of trial to decide their principles. And by then, it is too late. You cannot build character in the storm. You must build it in the calm, so that when the storm arrives, your actions are already chosen. The man who tries to negotiate with temptation in the heat of the moment will falter. But the man who has already decided in advance how he will act, he will not bend. This is the secret of predetermined decision. It removes hesitation. It removes the fog of debate. It closes the door to compromise. A judge does not walk into the courtroom each morning to wonder what justice means. The law has already been written. He simply enforces it. That is why his word carries authority. So it must be with you. Your laws, your standards, must already be written. You must decide in advance how you will respond when tired, when tempted, when tested. Because if you do not set your rules, the world will set them for you. And the world does not reward the undecided. It consumes them. The man who delays his standards is a man who borrows his life from circumstance. He becomes a pawn of the moment instead of a master of it. But it doesn't have to be this way. One act changes everything. Decision. Decide now who you are. Decide what you will never tolerate from yourself. Decide what you rise for and what you never bow to. And once you decide, do not borrow again. Because a man of predetermined principles cannot be bought, broken, or bullied. He is anchored. He is unshakable. Greatness is not the product of rare flashes of brilliance. It is the product of daily, deliberate, repeated action. It is the oak tree growing inch by inch, season after season, its roots unseen but unshakable. It is the blacksmith folding steel, strike after strike, sweat after sweat, until a blade of unmatched strength is born. And so it will be with you. Your life will not transform in one dazzling moment of inspiration. It will be built in the quiet, relentless repetition of discipline. just like the blacksmith's blade. Part 3. The silent power of consistency. There is a truth about success that few ever embrace. It is not the loud truth of motivation, nor the glamorous truth of talent. It is the quiet, often overlooked truth of consistency. Consistency is the hidden engine that turns ordinary men into extraordinary leaders. It does not flash. It does not boast. Yet it has the power to move mountains. Consider the story of a farmer. Each morning, before the town awakens, he walks to his barren field. He kneels in the soil, waters it, and tends to it faithfully. Day after day, week after week, no sprouts rise to greet him. No neighbors cheer him on. In fact, some laugh. They say he is wasting his time. But the farmer does not water for applause. He waters for harvest. And in due season, when the skeptics have long abandoned their own fields, his crops break through the ground. His labor, invisible for so long, becomes undeniable. What made the difference? Not talent, not luck, not some magical timing. One word: consistency. Now think of your own life. What are you watering each day? Excellence or excuses? Growth or regret? Every action you repeat is a rehearsal. Each habit is a seed. And the question is not whether you are planting. The question is, what are you planting? Excellence is not a moment. It is a pattern. It is built when you keep doing the right thing long after the feelings fade. It is forged in silence, tested in fatigue, proven in time. If you wait for conditions to be perfect, you will never begin. If you wait until you feel like it, you will never continue. A man becomes unstoppable not because he is the most gifted, but because he shows up when others quit. He does not need motivation. He has momentum. His actions flow from identity, not emotion. Every repetition is a vote for the man you are becoming. Every disciplined act is a brick in the foundation of your character. You do not need perfection, you need persistence. Let me share another picture. In a small quarry on the edge of town, a stonecutter hammers at a great block of granite. Blow after blow, strike after strike. To the eye of the passerby, nothing changes. Day after day, he swings, and the stone remains whole. But then, one day, the rock splits, not because of the final blow, but because of the 1,000 blows that came before it. That is consistency. That is persistence. The silent, steady power that creates breakthroughs. You see, a dream without a standard is only fantasy. It may warm the heart, but without a code of conduct, it drifts like a ship without a rudder. Standards are what anchor a dream. And when consistency is applied to those standards, the dream becomes a plan, the plan becomes a habit, and the habit becomes a reality. The architect knows this truth well. He may sketch a magnificent cathedral with soaring spires and vaulted ceilings. The vision inspires. But without measurements, proportions, and standards of height, depth, and width, the vision remains ink on paper. It is the standard, the rule, the non-negotiable, that turns imagination into stone and light. So it is with you. Your vision is only as strong as the standard you tie it to. Ask yourself, are your habits worthy of the future you desire? Are your daily actions building resilience? Or regret? Are you rehearsing excellence? Or mediocrity? Because here lies the truth, you will never outbuild your standards. Your dreams can rise no higher than the foundation you lay each day. And here is where consistency joins hands with standards. The two together become a force of nature. A man who has vision, anchored by standard, and lived out in daily consistency, cannot be stopped. His feet are guided by purpose. His hands are trained by repetition. His heart is forged by habit. Consider again the violinist. Alone in his room, he practices daily. His fingers ache. his mind grows weary. No stage, no applause, no recognition. Only the bow, the strings, and his discipline. Then one day, the curtain rises. The stage is his. And he does not falter, he flows. Because he was ready long before the audience ever arrived. That is preparation. That is consistency. That is the reward of hidden hours honored in silence. Do not wait for the call. Do not wait for permission, applause, or perfect timing. Prepare now. Live as if the opportunity were already on its way, for one day it will be. And when it comes, you will either rise with readiness or shrink with regret. Consistency is the bridge between standard and success. It is the discipline of showing up when no one is watching, the courage of doing the work without immediate reward, the faith of planting seeds in barren ground. The world does not remember the man who starts and quits. It remembers the one who remains when others disappear. The one who builds when others talk. The one who practices in private, so that he may prevail in public. So begin today. Begin small. Begin quiet. But begin. Then do it again tomorrow. And the next day. And the next. Because in the end, success is not built in a moment of brilliance. It is built in thousands of silent repetitions. The sermon of your life is not the words you speak, but the standards you live by, repeated with relentless consistency. And that is how men become legends. Fire. That's part 3, rewritten in Napoleon Hill story style. Would you like me to continue this into part 4, focusing on the idea of elimination, letting go of old habits, beliefs, relationships to rise higher? Part 4. The law of elimination. There is a strange truth about growth. It is never only about addition. It is just as much about subtraction. A man cannot rise until he learns what to release. A balloon tied to a weight cannot fly, no matter how much air you pump into it. The strength is there. The lift is there. But the tether holds it down. Many men live this way, full of dreams, full of potential, yet shackled by invisible ropes they refuse to cut. The great men of history were not only builders. They were eliminators. They removed distraction, destroyed excuses, severed ties, and shed habits that weighed them down. And it was in letting go that they found the freedom to climb. Let me tell you a story. In a small town, there was a blacksmith named Henry. His shop rang with the sound of hammer and fire. Day after day, he forged iron, shaping plows, horseshoes, and gates. But Henry was never satisfied. He longed to craft fine swords, the kind that would be carried by kings. Yet no matter how he tried, his blades bent and cracked. He blamed his tools, his furnace, even his fate. But an old traveler, watching him work, spoke a word of wisdom. Your failure is not in what you lack, but in what you keep. Too much impurity in your iron. The sword is not made by adding more fire, but by removing what does not belong. Henry listened. He changed his process. He refined his iron, burned away the dross, and eliminated the weakness. In time, his swords were strong, sharp, and sought by lords. The lesson? Strength comes not by piling more into your life, but by eliminating what weakens you. Now look at your own life. What impurities weaken your steel? What habits dull your edge? Perhaps it is procrastination. Perhaps it is the comfort of old friends who laugh at your ambition. Perhaps it is the daily drift into distraction. Too much talk, too little action. You cannot build a palace on rotten wood. You cannot create excellence on a foundation of excuses. Something must be cut away. Nature itself teaches this law. The gardener prunes the vine, not to harm it, but to help it bear more fruit. The tree sheds its leaves in autumn, not to die, but to prepare for spring. Even the eagle, when its feathers grow old, flies to the high rock, plucks them out, and waits in pain until new ones grow. Renewal is born through elimination. So too with men. Renewal requires removal. Growth requires sacrifice. Ask yourself this: what must I let go of in order to grow? It may be an old habit. It may be a bitter resentment. It may be the belief that you are less than you truly are. Whatever it is the chain on your ankle, the weight on your balloon, the impurity in your steel. The successful man is ruthless about this. He does not negotiate with weakness. He does not entertain what diminishes him. He eliminates without hesitation. Remember this: you cannot climb carrying every burden. At some point you must choose: do you want the baggage, or do you want the summit? You cannot have both. Consider the sailor. To survive a storm, he does not cling to every cargo. He throws overboard what weighs the ship. To save the vessel, he sacrifices the load. And because of his willingness to let go, he lives to sail another day. Life is the same. If you wish to endure, if you wish to win, you must know what to throw overboard. Now let us bring this closer to your daily conduct. Eliminate wasted time. Every hour lost to idle talk or useless distraction is a brick stolen from your dream. Guard your time like treasure. Eliminate toxic company. You cannot soar like an eagle if you flock with pigeons. Surround yourself with men who sharpen you, not dull you. Eliminate excuses. The man who justifies his weakness will never strengthen it. Say not, "I can't." Say, "I must." And let your will follow. Eliminate self-doubt. The voice that whispers you are not enough is a liar. Silence it with action. Prove it wrong with persistence. Each elimination is an act of freedom. Each cut of the blade is a release of weight. And as you let go, you rise. Do not fear the pain of loss. Fear instead the cost of keeping what should have been cut away long ago. The comfort you cling to may be the very chain that binds you. I once knew a young man who dreamed of being a writer. He bought every book on writing. He studied style, language, and history. His shelves were heavy with knowledge. Yet he never wrote. Why? Because he refused to eliminate his distractions. He filled his hours with gossip, endless leisure, and the approval of friends who mocked his dream. He added knowledge but never subtracted weakness. And so his dream died stillborn. Addition without elimination is futility. Another young man, by contrast, also dreamed of writing. But he sold his television. He stopped attending meaningless gatherings. He woke before dawn every day and wrote a page. In time, that page became a book. That book became a career. That career became a legacy. Not because of what he added, but because of what he cut away. Understand this: greatness is not found in abundance, but in focus. And focus is impossible without elimination. Examine your life as a jeweler examines a diamond. See the flaws. Cut them away. Polish the surface. Let nothing cloud your brilliance. A man who eliminates weakness is unstoppable. He is lighter, sharper, faster. His steps are sure. His purpose is clear. So, do not ask only, "What must I gain to succeed?" Ask also, "What must I lose?" For your future is hidden not only in what you will build, but in what you will burn. Burn the bridges to mediocrity. Cut the ties to complacency. Let go of every chain that holds you. Only then will you discover the law of elimination, that freedom is not in holding more, but in carrying less. That growth is not in clinging, but in cutting. That success is not in what you add, but in what you remove. Release, and you will rise. Fire. That's part 4, Napoleon Hill style. 1,000 words. Do you want me to move to part 5 next, where we can build on this and focus on faith and imagination, the power of belief to create reality? Part 5. The power of belief and imagination. Every great achievement begins twice. First in the mind, then in the world. The bridge you walk upon, the tower that pierces the sky, the machine that carries men across oceans, all of these were once invisible. They lived only in the imagination of a man who dared to believe. Before they were steel, they were thought. Before they were real, they were faith. There is no power greater than the combination of belief and imagination. Belief fuels the heart. Imagination directs the mind. Together, they create worlds. Let me tell you a story. Years ago, there was a young boy named Samuel. He lived on a farm where days were filled with plowing fields and feeding livestock. But Samuel's mind was elsewhere. He was fascinated by the stars. At night, he would lie on the grass, staring at the heavens, dreaming of flying beyond the earth. His neighbors laughed. "A farm boy? Flying to the stars? Foolishness." Even his father scolded him, saying, "Keep your head in the soil where it belongs." But Samuel carried a secret weapon. He believed. He believed not only that man could fly, but that he himself might play a part in it. His belief gave life to his imagination. He drew sketches of flying machines in old notebooks. He built small models with wood and cloth. Every failure became a lesson, not a defeat. Years later, Samuel Langley became one of the pioneers of aviation, paving the way for men like the Wright brothers. The world remembers those who dare to believe in the unseen. For it is belief that keeps a dream alive when the evidence says otherwise. Imagination without belief is fantasy. Belief without imagination is blindness. But when the two unite, miracles are born. Think of Thomas Edison. When he declared he would create a lamp powered by electricity, the world mocked him. Newspapers sneered. Experts laughed. "Impossible," they said. But Edison imagined it clearly. He could see the glow in his mind long before it burned in his laboratory. His belief carried him through 10,000 failures. He did not quit, because his imagination painted the picture of success so vividly that it was more real to him than the failures in front of him. That is the secret. You must see it before you hold it. You must believe it before you build it. Faith is not idle wishing. Faith is a force. It is a decision to treat the invisible as if it were already visible. It is the builder's blueprint, drawn before the foundation is laid. Consider the farmer. He plants a seed into the dark soil. He cannot see the harvest, but he believes it will come. He waters, he waits, he works. His belief gives him patience. His imagination lets him picture the golden fields months before they appear. Without belief, he would abandon the soil. Without imagination, he would never plant at all. The same is true of your dreams. Your mind is the soil. Your ideas are the seeds. Belief and imagination are the sun and rain that make them grow. Let me be plain. The man who lacks belief will always fail, no matter how clever his ideas. And the man who lacks imagination will remain stuck, no matter how strong his belief. It is the union of both that breaks the chains of limitation. Ask yourself, what do I truly believe about my future? Do I imagine it with color, detail, and certainty? Or do I let doubt paint it gray? Your belief is the architect. Your imagination is the artist. Together, they design your destiny. But beware. Belief works both ways. The man who believes he will fail, surely will. The man who imagines defeat, creates it. Fear is imagination corrupted. Doubt is faith in reverse. The same power that builds a palace can build a prison if you allow it. I once met a man who dreamed of starting a business. He spoke of it often, but his words were soaked in doubt. The market is too hard. The risks are too high. People like me don't succeed. His imagination painted pictures of bankruptcy, not prosperity. His belief was in failure, not success. And so, as surely as day follows night, failure became his reality. Another man, with fewer resources and greater obstacles, spoke differently. I will succeed. I can already see my shop. I can hear the sound of customers at the counter. I can feel the weight of coins in my hand. His belief was unshakable. His imagination was vivid. And in time, his vision became brick and mortar. The difference between the two was not circumstance. It was faith. Faith is the lens through which imagination becomes clear. Without it, the picture blurs. With it, the future sharpens. So how do you strengthen this power? Feed your imagination. Read great books. Surround yourself with beauty. Listen to men of vision. A starved imagination produces weak dreams. A nourished imagination produces grand ones. Guard your belief. Refuse to entertain doubt. When the mind whispers, "You cannot," reply, "I already have, in my vision." Speak faith until it becomes flesh. Visualize daily. Each morning, close your eyes and see your goal as already complete. Feel it. Taste it. Walk in it. The mind cannot tell the difference between a vivid vision and reality. It begins to work toward it automatically. Take action. Belief without action is self-deception. Imagination without labor is a daydream. Work confirms your faith. Each step, however small, proves you believe. Understand this. The richest men in the world began as poor dreamers. They held pictures in their minds long before they held wealth in their hands. They lived in their imagination until their reality caught up. Even Scripture declares, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." The universe responds to the images you carry, the beliefs you hold, the faith you project. Never laugh at the dreamer. Today he may walk in rags, but tomorrow he may rule in riches. Why? Because his inner world is already greater than his outer one. And in time, the outer always bends to the inner. The world belongs to men of faith and imagination. The skeptics inherit dust. So I ask you now, what is your vision? What picture burns within you? Do you see it clearly? Do you believe it fiercely? If not, begin today. Close your eyes and imagine the life you desire. Refuse to let doubt steal it. Refuse to let fear distort it. Guard it like a sacred fire. For your future is already written, in the canvas of your imagination, in the strength of your belief. The only question is whether you will claim it. Remember this law: whatever the mind can conceive, and the heart can believe, the hands can achieve. Believe, imagine, and you will create. Fire. That's part 5, Napoleon Hill style, 1,000 words. Would you like me to now prepare part 6, final part, with a strong call to action that pushes readers to act, like a closing speech that lights a fire under them? Part 6, the final step, action and legacy. There comes a time when thinking is not enough. A time when planning must give way to doing. A time when dreams must leap from the mind into the world. That time is always now. The greatest trap for men and women is delay. Someday, they say. When the timing is right. When I have more money. When I feel ready. But someday is a thief. It steals your life quietly, one day at a time, until your dreams lie buried with you. I once knew a man named Henry. For 20 years he carried the idea of writing a book. He spoke of it often. He researched, he outlined, he told friends of the masterpiece he would one day publish. But he never wrote the first page. When I met him in his old age, I asked why he never began. His answer chilled me. I was waiting for the right moment, but it never came. There is no right moment. There is only now. Action is the final key in the vault of success. You may possess desire, discipline, persistence, faith, and imagination, but without action, they are like an engine without fuel. The spark is there, but the car does not move. Think of the Wright brothers. They were not the only men who dreamed of flight. Others had more money, more resources, more education. But the Wright brothers took action. They built, they tested, they crashed, they tried again. Their wings lifted because their feet moved. Or consider Andrew Carnegie. As a boy, he worked 12 hours a day in a cotton mill. He dreamed of freedom, but he did more than dream. He saved every coin, studied every book, built every relationship. Action transformed him from a factory boy to the steel king of America. Action is faith made visible. Action is imagination given form. Action is persistence applied. Action is discipline in motion. Let me be clear, success never comes to those who wait. It comes to those who act while others sleep. The man who acts today will always surpass the man who waits for tomorrow. But action must be decisive. Hesitation is defeat in slow motion. You must strike when the iron is hot, and if the iron is cold, you must strike until it is hot. Many people mistake activity for action. They stay busy, moving in circles, but never advancing. True action is purposeful. It is directed toward a goal. It is measured by results, not effort. Ask yourself, what action can I take today, right now, that moves me closer to my dream? Do not wait for a grand beginning. Begin where you stand. Plant a seed, make a call, write a page, learn a skill, knock on a door. Great oaks grow from small acorns. Great fortunes rise from small steps. The man who waits for the whole staircase to appear will die at the bottom step. The man who takes the first step in faith will soon find the next revealed. Action is also courage. For every step forward invites fear. Fear of failure, fear of ridicule, fear of loss. But courage is not the absence of fear, it is the mastery of fear. The soldier marches while trembling. The entrepreneur invests while doubting. The dreamer builds while uncertain. Fear is natural, but it cannot be allowed to command. The cure for fear is always action. Each step forward diminishes it. Each victory, however small, weakens its grip. But there is something even greater than action: legacy. For what is the purpose of success if it dies with you? What is the worth of wealth if it builds no future? What is the use of wisdom if it lifts no one else? A life of significance is a life of contribution. The great men of history were not remembered for what they owned, but for what they gave. They turned their victories into bridges for others. They left trails where none existed, so others might walk more easily. You, too, must think beyond yourself. As you act, ask, how will this choice echo beyond me? Will my children be stronger? Will my community be brighter? Will my name be remembered with honor? Success without legacy is vanity. Success with legacy is immortality. Imagine your final day on earth. You look back upon your life. What do you see? Regret for what you never tried, or pride for what you dared? Empty hands, or hands scarred from building? A name forgotten, or a name spoken with gratitude? The choice is yours, and the choice is made in the daily actions you take from this moment forward. Do not say, I will begin tomorrow. Begin now. Begin where you are, with what you have. For the greatest tragedy is not death, it is an unlived life. Write your book. Start your business. Build your dream. Lift your family. Inspire your world. Do not wait for permission, for you already possess it. Do not wait for certainty, for it will never come. Do not wait for time, for you already hold it in your hands. Act boldly, live fully, and leave a mark upon the earth. For success is not measured by what you take, but by what you leave behind. This is the final truth. Every man holds within himself the seed of greatness. Desire is the soil. Discipline is the root. Persistence is the stem. Faith is the sunlight. Imagination is the water. But only action brings the harvest. The world is waiting for your harvest. Will you plant, or will you bury your seed in the ground of excuses? Choose action. Choose now. Fire call to action, direct to reader, my friend. If these words have stirred something in you, do not let it fade. Take action today. Begin building your dream. And as you do, share this message with others who need it. Backhand index pointing right. Subscribe for more lessons. Backhand index pointing right. Share these words with a friend who dreams but hesitates. Backhand index pointing right. Leave your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear your vision, your struggle, your fight. For together, we rise higher. And together, we will prove that no dream is too great when fueled by belief, imagination, persistence, and action. Now go, your future is waiting.